Good morning, everyone. I first want to start off by thanking all of our BC's teachers, 41,000 public school teachers across this province who've backed our federation through these last 14 years of court action, through many highs as well as many lows. Our teachers do remarkable work in our classrooms, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Our system continues to be strong because of the work of our members and the work of our support staff unions and the support of our parents, despite the conditions and the underfunding that we currently are under. BCTF is very pleased as the Supreme Court, with Supreme Court's of Canada's decision to hear our appeal. It's another important step in this long journey through the court system for us. We're looking forward to the opportunity to present our arguments to the court and hopefully win back important working conditions for our teachers, which we believe were unconstitutionally stripped from our collective agreements. As we wait for the next steps, it's important to remind everyone that nothing about today's changes our original court victory back in 2011. BC teachers still have the right to bargain class size and composition. We won that right back in our first court victory at the BC Supreme Court in 2011. The government never appealed that first decision of the BC Supreme Court. So going forward, the BC Teachers Federation will continue to use the collective bargaining process to achieve better working conditions for our teachers and better learning conditions for our students. By unconstitutionally stripping our collective agreement 14 years ago, this government did so much harm to our public education system. Class sizes are larger, class composition has deteriorated year after year, and thousands of teaching positions were lost. Teaching positions that work directly with our students in our classrooms or in small groups with specialist teachers. This happened because the government wanted to cut education funding. And this has resulted in an entire generation of BC students have been shortchanged. It's time that this record comes to an end. Our kids deserve so much more than this government is currently giving them. A month from now, this government will deliver its latest budget. And we know that enrollment is starting to increase. And we know that there are more students with special needs, more refugee students, and more students with other unique needs entering our system. And this is the year for our government to make a real shift. And it's time to invest in BC kids again. And thank you, and again, we look forward to presenting our arguments at the Supreme Court of Canada. Thank you very much.
Jim, the province is saying that its relationship with the BCTF has never been better. Is that how you see it?
Currently, we have a good relationship with our government when it comes to working in terms of the curriculum revisions that we're working on a replacement provincial FSA that we're working on. So that relationship is good. And even though while the relationship is good, we still have a responsibility to continue advocating for our students in our classrooms and for more funding, because that's still the disagreement we have with this government, is the amount of funding that we need to properly address the needs of our students in our classrooms.
What is the significance of the court awarding costs to you in this case? How important is that to you?
Well, I think that's something that the Supreme Court does in these cases, getting our costs, and of course, to get our costs will mean that we will have to win at the Supreme Court. So it goes in tandem.
What are the next steps for the BCTF, and when might we see those take place?
Well, the next step for us will be taking a look at what the Supreme Court does in terms of its timeline, in terms of us putting together our arguments and our factum, and we're hoping that that can happen within the next month or so.
So the deal was ratified in September 2014. How do teachers feel about it now?
Well, our teachers feel good the fact that we have a collective agreement in place. And we know that an area that we still need to improve in our collective agreement, and we're hoping with our arguments to the Supreme Court, and again, hoping it will be up to the Supreme Court that we get a positive decision, because we believe that the trial judge at the BC Supreme Court was correct in her decision, and we're hoping that the Supreme Court will acknowledge the correctness of that decision. But we know that we need this government to continue putting in more money so we can actually start seeing smaller class sizes for our students, and see more specialist teachers who have the ability to work more with our students in one-on-one or small group situations. So we have a collective agreement. That's good, but we know that we still have to address our working conditions, which are our students' learning conditions.
This happened in 2002.
Yes.
How much of a sore spot is this for teachers who are still in the classroom? How much did that move by the province burn and still continue to be in their minds?
Well, we never give up. Our teachers never give up, and despite the conditions in our classroom, like I stated earlier, our teachers still work hard to try to meet the needs as best as they can of all our students, because that's who we are as teachers. For us, entering the profession is because we want to make a difference for our students, and we want to be able to meet their needs as best as possible. But we need the support of government, of everybody in the system, and of course, part of that is the funding. And this positive decision that we get to go to Supreme Court will be viewed very positively of our members, and it will continue that hope that we all need.
Any sense of how long it might be before the court hears and before the hearings begin, so to speak, the presentation of arguments begins?
Well, we're hoping, we think that possibly this next process, in terms of when we give the factum, when there's actual hearing, that will happen positive, probably by the fall there will be a hearing, and hopefully that we can get a decision within the next year.
How significant in the history of relations between the BC government and the BCTF is it to have the Supreme Court here?
Well, it's always positive to be able to have a good working relationship with whichever government is in power, and the fact that we do have a good relationship in some of the areas that working with this government is positive. But in the meanwhile, we can't lose sight of our responsibility to advocate on behalf of our students, on behalf of public education, and on behalf of our members.
But what I'm asking, is it a milestone? Is it historic to have the Supreme Court of Canada weigh into this fractious relationship and these issues which have rambled on for many, many years?
Well, I think what the Supreme Court is doing is they've accepted our leave to hear this case, and has nothing to do in terms of the relationship between us and government. What this has to do is legal arguments which attest to whether governments, not only in British Columbia but across this country, have the right to unilaterally strip collective bargaining provisions by just saying all they have to do is talk with you, especially when it comes to, I guess our case also rests on the issue of class size and class composition. So this is it's about legal arguments, it's about constitutional rights, it's about full free collective bargaining, and what it means to actually have full free collective bargaining in this country.